So on tonight's episode of Bedtime Comics with a Redneck, I will be doing a review on the Wolverine Volume 6 Omnibus from Marvel Comics. There's some of the covers. Retail price is $125. I just want to start off by saying I'm not a big fan of the cover art, but I got it for a good price on eBay, so beggars can't be choosers. But if I remember right, the other cover wasn't too much better. I don't think they had a bunch of good covers for this. So let's take the dust jacket off. They got a lot of different panels from the comics in here. I am not a fan of this either. They've been doing it with the past couple Wolverines. I'm not a fan of this. I like it better when you have one big solid piece of art that wraps around, or maybe a big section of art here and a different section of art here. I don't like all these different comic panels thrown on here and just with hardly any color thrown on them. It's just I don't like it. Other people might. If you do, that's cool. But that's not, in my opinion, that's not for me. So I have read this. It took me a very, very long time to read it. The pages are they're not thick, but they're not super thin. I mean they're definitely on the thin side. You can definitely see a lot of bleed through, but I have felt a lot thinner with something like the Spectacular Spider-Man Volume 1 Omni. That one was so thin, the pages, I was scared to turn them. So, as far as the transfer and how everything looks color-wise and such like that, like I don't really have issues with that. I mean, everything's got a nice look to it. The colors are good on it. I feel like the scans were good on it. But let's get into the bad part about it. The book is boring. And Wolverine was one of those that was one of the first ones I got into. Spider-Man was my very first comic character. And after Spider-Man, I got into the X-Men universe. And of course, Wolverine stuck out. And I remember collecting these issues, most of these issues that come out here when they were releasing monthly, and I didn't much care for them then. And I was hoping it was one of those where I run into a bunch of stories where I'll come back to them 20 years later. Now that I've grown some and can understand the complexities of the story a little more than when I was a teenager. And a lot of times I will end up enjoying something that I didn't like before. But that's not the case with this. I don't know what Marvel was doing. They were trying something new with Wolverine, and it wasn't working. And Marvel found out quick it wasn't working. So we start off. Well, let me tell you what it collects first, so we know where we're standing at. So it collects Wolverine 102 to 118. It collects number -1, it collects the Wizard half and 102.5. It collects Wolverine Annual 96 to 97, Venom Tooth and Claw, issue 1 to 3, the miniseries, Maverick, One Shot, number 1, Logan Shadow Society, One Shot, Kitty Pryde, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., 1 to 3 miniseries, Wolverine Doombringer, One Shot, Before the Fantastic Four, Ben Grimm and Logan 1 to 3 miniseries, Wolverine Days of Future Past 1 to 3 miniseries, Wolverine Encyclopedia 1 and 2, and material from Marvel Shadows and Light number 1. So most of this, if not, I believe most of it, I won't say all of it, most of it was written by Larry Hama, which is usually a good Wolverine writer. And I don't blame him for a lot of this. I feel like a lot of this is the direction Marvel was making him take with it. But so when we get to 102, we got to go into a little bit of spoilers. I'm not going to do a whole lot of spoilers. There's not a lot in here to spoil. With issue 100, they were going to rebond the adamantium to Wolverine, but Wolverine expelled the adamantium to save Cannonball, which I don't understand why they're pushing Cannonball so hard, because I never liked him even in X-Force. In New Mutants, I didn't like him. He didn't feel like he was ready to take that step up. He's not a big enough character to be up there running around with Wolverine. It always felt weird. But anyway, he resisted the adamantium, which drove his body into overdrive and mutated him into this feral. I'll show you a picture. Into this feral creature. He looks like a troll more than anything, like an ogre. Well, this picks up in the aftermath of that, where he's on his way trying to get his humanity back, and I feel like it goes a little too long. He meets up with Elektra, and Elektra's trying to help him along. You've got, at the same time, you got the Onslaught angle going on, the stories, the tie-ins, and I mean, half of the Wolverine issues that's in here, the actual Wolverine stories, are reprinted in other Marvel books where they serve as more of an important role. Like the Onslaught stuff fit really well in the Onslaught Omni, because obviously it fit in with the event of what was going on. Where here, it, even though it's chronological, you can't appreciate it as much as if it was read in the event where it belonged. So most of your beginning issues are duplicated in the X-Men Onslaught Omni. So you get a couple of issues here and there that aren't anywhere else, but then you run into stuff like a whole bunch of one-shots, and the one-shots were okay. Like the one-shots, I don't mind the one-shots, but I feel like there's too many of them stuffed in here. In miniseries, it's like we only got like 16 issues of Wolverine in here, if that. And the rest of this book was one shots and miniseries, and I mean, it's good that they're collecting it all chronologically, and I'm not dissing the book for that, because this is this is what this book is designed for, is to collect everything chronologically. So it's not the book's fault. The book's mapping is right. This is what a collector of the Wolverine wants. It's why I bought it, because I needed it for my to have my complete collection. But if you're just somebody who's casually getting this stuff and you don't care if you have every single thing, you just want the fun, good stuff, then I would say you can probably pass on this. I would pass on this one. The stories in here aren't, to me, aren't very good. You get a few that shines here and there, but mostly they're just, you don't have any big battles with Sabretooth or Omega Red or none of his classic villains really. It's just a bunch of him dealing with Japan, and oh man, I mean it's rough. And that's coming from a 100% Wolverine fan, and it's rough. Like the last half of the Wolverine series, the actual Wolverine issues, collects a bunch of Wolverine issues from the Operation Zero Tolerance storyline, and that is collected way better in the X-Men Operation uh, Zero Tolerance hardcover or trade paperbacks. I mean, it's collected better there because it's like the Wolverine Onslaught stuff. It's made, except this, the Operation Zero Tolerance stuff, this is actually part of the main story. Instead of the Onslaught being tie-ins, the Operation Zero Tolerance was part of the main story. So you're getting bits and pieces of the main story, and unless you were somebody like me who read it before, who read it complete, you come in and just read this, you don't know what's going on. So that is, would it be better in an updated X-Men Omni that I'm sure is coming, that's collecting Operation Zero Tolerance in full. So that already eliminates all but like 2 issues of the Wolverine, actual Wolverine issues in here. So then you have the Wolverine and Venom Tooth and Claw miniseries. That was okay, but it's collected in the Venom omnibus. I mean, once again, you can go somewhere, and the Venom omnibus has better stories surrounding Venom, so you could get your Wolverine Venom from there. The Logan story I didn't really care for. I don't like that old where they go back before he uses claws and stuff. Uh, Lady Deathstrike comes back very briefly. The Kitty Pryde story was okay, but even then, it felt like it didn't have enough Wolverine to warrant being a major part of this. But chronologically, it was needed here. Then you've got Doombringer one shot, that was pretty good. Ben Grimm and Logan, that was another one before he had claws. With I could do without it. Days of Future Past Wolverine, or Days of Future Present, or whatever. That one felt like it took 6 years to read. The writer probably could have made it a one shot, but he was one of those super long winded writers that every page had to have 6 pages worth of stuff wrote on it. He could have drastically cut it down. So I would, if I had to rate this Omni, I would, story wise, the stories in here, I give it like a 3, man. I mean, it's very passable. The art's in the beginning it's wonky, but it gets really better towards the end, and even towards the beginning it's not terrible. So I give the art probably like a 6. As far as the overall book, I probably give it more like a 6 for a final grade. Unless you're a hardcore Wolverine completist, don't waste your money on this book. So that's my review for this. Leave a like or subscribe. I'm a small channel. Any subscriptions I can get will help me in a long way. So